The story I'm about to tell you may be triggering to people who have had sexual abuse, especially rape. So if you find such stories triggering, please keep scrolling. When we see a girl talk about her sexual abuse story, and even after 15 years of the experience with so much pain, we wonder why the memory is still so fresh in her heart. Well, not everybody is able to heal from such situations. Some people just learn to live with it. But here's the story of Amaka and how she was able to heal from 2 cases of rape. When Amaka was getting to the university, she promised herself that she would remain a virgin till she gets married. And the night before she went to school, her mother called her to tell her to stay clear of men. But she didn't need her mother's advice because she had already made the decision herself. Being the innocent girl she was, Amaka came into school and joined a fellowship. Now, if you've passed through any higher institution in Nigeria, you would know that fellowship activities are usually in the evening. On a fateful Wednesday, Amaka went for a fellowship activity that started by 6 p.m. and was to end by 8 p.m. When fellowship ended, she greeted some upper level students and her level mates and then helped with packing and closing. And as the fellowship would always advise, Amaka went back home with a group of fellowship mates. By the time she was leaving the fellowship venue, it was already 8:30, and like every other fellowship day, other people she walked home with got to their lodges before her. She had to walk for some time before getting to her own lodge alone. By the time Amaka was left alone, it was already 8:45, and she just thought that instead of trekking back home, she should just take a bike, although the distance was no longer so far and was trekkable. Earlier that evening, it had rained, so the bike man she was negotiating with convinced her that the road was bad and he would have to follow another path. Now, it is true that whenever it rains, the road is really bad and difficult for vehicles, so she agreed with the bike man to follow this path that she did not know. Along the line, Amaka noticed that she was no longer meeting people on the road, and the path this bike man was following was full of bushes, and she started complaining to him. After some minutes of driving, the bike man finally stopped and acted as though his bike was bad for Amaka to come down, and immediately she got down, the bike man bounced on her. And despite facing some difficulties seeing that she was a virgin, the bike man was able to rape her. After the rape, the bike man took his bike and drove away, leaving her alone on that deserted area. Amaka stayed there for minutes crying and finally decided to stand up and trace her way back to the road where she can see people. When she finally got to where she could see people, she fainted and was rushed to the school clinic. And after narrating her ordeal to the nurse, she was placed on post-exposure prophylaxis and other antibiotics, as well as contraception to see that she does not get pregnant. In case you do not know, if you are exposed to the risks of HIV, either through rape or sex that you consented to, but you are not sure of the STD status of this person in question, you should go to the hospital within 72 hours of this potential exposure and tell your doctor exactly what happened. There is a drug that can be used to prevent HIV even after exposure. Back to the story of Amaka. After taking her drugs and recovering physically from the rape experience, Amaka was still pained inside her heart, and the emotional stress could not just go. Amaka felt bad because the virginity she was saving for her husband was taken away by a bike man. She decided that since the virginity is gone, she can just as well become sexually active because what was left for her, so she felt. In the next part of this story, I'll tell you how Amaka was raped again. Men, sometimes affliction does arise the second time, and it's so painful. This story is brought to you by askNivi, and if you want recommendations on where you could go to for PrEP or post-exposure prophylaxis, then you should click the link in our bio and have a conversation with askNivi. You can also learn about your sexual and reproductive health by having a conversation with askNivi. Just click the link in our bio, follow the prompts, and start that conversation already. Thank you.